The album's legacy transformed completely after November 22nd. Elegantly Wasted went from a decent but unremarkable late-career INXS record to their final statement with Michael Hutchence. Every song got re-examined for clues and warnings. The title phrase became impossible to hear without thinking about Michael's death. Sales increased as fans rushed to own the last album he made, to find meaning and answers in the grooves. The music didn't change, but the context shifted everything about how people heard it. Listening to Elegantly Wasted now requires separating what the album was meant to be from what it became after Michael's death. The band was trying to make a statement about resilience and style, about surviving the music industry's ups and downs with grace. They wanted Elegantly Wasted to position INXS as elder statesmen who'd earned the right to excess and attitude through 2 decades of success. Instead, the title became an epitaph, 2 words that described Michael's final state with devastating accuracy. The prophecy wasn't intentional, and that's what makes it so disturbing. Michael didn't choose Elegantly Wasted knowing he was describing his own ending. He thought he was being clever and provocative, creating an image for the band to inhabit. But something in him knew. Some part of his consciousness recognized what was happening and put it into words without fully acknowledging the truth. The title came from Michael's subconscious understanding of his own deterioration, a recognition too painful to face directly, so it emerged as album marketing instead. For Andrew Ferris and the other band members, the album title became another source of guilt and regret after Michael's death. They'd agreed to Elegantly Wasted without seeing the warning in those words. They'd recorded an album titled after Michael's condition without recognizing what it revealed about his state. That failure of awareness haunts them because maybe if they'd understood what Elegantly Wasted actually meant, they could have intervened. Maybe they could have saved Michael if they'd paid closer attention to what he was telling them through the title and lyrics. The album's commercial afterlife proved complicated. INXS couldn't promote it after Michael's death, couldn't tour behind it, couldn't build momentum through normal channels. But the album sold based on tragedy and curiosity, people wanting to hear Michael's final work and find meaning in his last creative statement. That success felt hollow to the band, since it came from death rather than the music's quality. They'd created Elegantly Wasted as a statement of survival, and it became a memorial instead. Decades later, Elegantly Wasted stands as one of rock's most prophetically titled albums. Other musicians have created work that seems to predict their deaths, but few with the precision of those 2 words capturing Michael's exact state. He was elegant until the end, maintaining charm and style even as he wasted away from depression, brain damage, substance abuse, and overwhelming life circumstances. The title wasn't metaphor or artistic license. It was literal description of what was happening to Michael Hutchence in 1997. The greatest tragedy of Elegantly Wasted isn't the music, which ranges from solid to occasionally great. The tragedy is that Michael told everyone what was happening to him through the title, and nobody heard the warning. He described his own slow death, and people thought he was being clever with language. That failure of recognition, that inability to see the truth hiding in plain sight, represents the broader failure that led to Michael's death. People around him knew something was wrong, but nobody grasped how serious or intervened effectively. The album title stands as evidence they should have known, should have recognized the warning. If Michael could speak about the album now, he'd probably say the title meant something different to him than what it became after Michael's death. He'd explain the swagger and attitude he intended, the reclamation of glamour in an unglamorous era. But he'd also have to acknowledge the unconscious truth in those words, the way his damaged brain and suffering soul chose a phrase that described his actual condition. Elegantly Wasted was both what Michael wanted to project and what he actually was, image and reality colliding in 2 devastating words. 7 months separated the album's release from Michael's death. 7 months of touring and custody battles and declining mental health. 7 months of Michael living the title he'd chosen, wasting elegantly until there was nothing left to waste. The album documented that decline for anyone willing to listen closely enough. The prophecy was there in the title, in the lyrics, in Michael's strained vocals. But prophecies only make sense after they've come true, and by the time everyone understood what Elegantly Wasted really meant, Michael was already gone. Touring behind Elegantly Wasted through the middle months of 1997 showed Michael's declining state to anyone paying close attention. Some shows he performed brilliantly, channeling whatever energy he had left into commanding the stage. Other shows he seemed absent, going through motions without the charisma and presence that defined his career. Band members noticed the inconsistency and worried, but didn't know what to do. Michael insisted he was fine, blamed any problems on tiredness or stress, refused to acknowledge the deeper issues eating at him. The custody battle with Bob Geldof intensified through 1997, consuming Michael's mental and emotional resources. Every court date, every legal maneuver, every setback in the fight to be part of Paula's daughter's life drained him further. Michael felt helpless, watching lawyers and judges make decisions about people he loved. That helplessness fed his depression, which fed his substance use, which fed his erratic behavior, creating a spiral he couldn't escape. The Elegantly Wasted album represented his attempt to maintain normalcy, to keep being Michael Hutchence the rock star, even as Michael the person disintegrated. Band members have talked about those final months and the regret of not intervening more forcefully. They saw Michael struggling, but accepted his explanations that everything was under control. Rock bands in the 90s didn't do interventions or mental health check-ins. You were supposed to tough it out, handle your problems privately, not burden the group with personal issues. That culture of silence and self-sufficiency left Michael isolated when he needed support most. His bandmates failed him not through malice, but through not knowing any better way to help someone clearly drowning. The phrase "elegantly wasted" captures something true about Michael's final state that makes it so devastating as a title. He was wasting away through 1997, losing weight and energy and hope. But he did it with style and charm, maintaining the elegant front even as the foundation crumbled. That's what makes the title prophetic rather than just coincidentally sad. Michael was living elegantly wasted in the most literal sense, presenting beauty and sophistication while dying inside. The album title didn't predict his death, but it described his condition perfectly. Looking at the album's track listing reveals other unintentionally prophetic moments. "Don't Lose Your Head" was Michael's advice to himself that he couldn't follow. "Shake the Tree" contains lyrics about breaking free from something that's holding you down. "I'm Just a Man" admits human vulnerability and limitation. "Girl on Fire" describes watching destruction happen and feeling powerless to stop it. Michael was documenting his own collapse through these songs, leaving evidence of his state that everyone would recognize too late. The album cover art shows the band in black and white, Michael front and center, looking gaunt and intense. The stark photography matches the album's darker sound and themes. Design choices that seemed artistic in April looked like harbingers of doom by November. Everything associated with Elegantly Wasted takes on new meaning after Michael's death, transforming from marketing and artistic choices into documents of a man's final months. Paula Yates listened to the album and heard what others missed. She later said Michael's pain came through in the lyrics and vocals, that you could hear him struggling if you knew what to listen for. She was living with him through the album's creation and release, watching his deterioration firsthand. The rest of the world heard rock songs about excess and attitude. Paula heard her partner drowning and not knowing how to save himself or accept help from others. The 20th anniversary tour INXS was planning for late 1997 represented their attempt to celebrate 2 decades as a band and reconnect with their legacy.
The tour would feature hits from across their career, remind audiences why INXS mattered, potentially revive their commercial fortunes. Michael participated in planning and rehearsals while his personal life crumbled around him. The disconnect between professional obligations and personal crisis grew until something had to break. Unfortunately, what broke was Michael himself. November rehearsals showed Michael distracted and tense. Phone calls about the custody battle interrupted sessions. His mood shifted from cooperative to irritable without warning. Band members noticed but didn't grasp the severity. They thought Michael was having a rough patch, that he'd pull himself together once the tour started. That assumption proved tragically wrong. The last rehearsal happened November 21st, less than 24 hours before Michael's death. Nothing about that rehearsal suggested emergency or crisis, just another day of Michael struggling through what everyone thought was temporary stress.
1997. INXS releases their 10th studio album with a title that will haunt everyone who hears it after Michael's death 7 months later. Elegantly Wasted. 2 words that seem clever and provocative in April when the album drops, just another rock band playing with language about excess and lifestyle. Then November 22nd happens, and those 2 words take on meaning nobody wanted them to have. Elegantly Wasted wasn't just an album title, it was Michael Hutchence describing his own final state without realizing it. The phrase captured exactly what was happening to him in 1997, the slow deterioration hidden behind charm and style, the wasting away that nobody close to him fully recognized until it was too late. This is the story of INXS's final album with Michael, what Elegantly Wasted really meant, and why those 2 words became the most devastating prophecy in rock history. The album sessions happened through 1996 and early 97, a period when Michael's life was falling apart in ways both visible and hidden. His relationship with Paula Yates consumed him. The custody battle over her daughter drained his mental and emotional energy. The Copenhagen brain injury from 5 years earlier continued affecting his mood and personality in ways nobody fully understood. Michael was drinking more, using substances more, sleeping less. But he still showed up to record, still wrote lyrics, still performed his parts. From the outside, he looked like Michael Hutchence doing what he always did. From the inside, he was barely holding together. The title Elegantly Wasted came from conversations between band members about image and attitude. INXS had always projected confidence and style, the sense that they lived fully and without apology. Elegantly Wasted played with that image, suggesting excess done with class, destruction approached with sophistication. In the mid-90s music scene dominated by grunge's studied ugliness and alternative rock's deliberate roughness, INXS wanted to reclaim glamour and style. The title announced they weren't ashamed of being a band that cared about appearance and presentation, that wasted didn't have to mean sloppy or pathetic if you did it elegantly. Michael connected with the phrase immediately. He liked the contradiction in it, the way elegant and wasted shouldn't go together but somehow did. Friends remember him using the phrase in conversation before it became the album title, describing nights out or his general state of being. He'd say he was elegantly wasted after a long night, half joking but also capturing something true about how he experienced the world. The phrase fit Michael's approach to life, the way he could be falling apart internally while still presenting beauty and charm externally. Recording the album proved difficult for reasons that went beyond normal creative challenges. Michael missed sessions or showed up hours late. When he did appear, his focus wavered and his moods shifted unpredictably. Andrew Ferris and the other band members tried to work around Michael's unreliability, recording instrumental tracks when he wasn't there and fitting his vocals in when he could manage it. The process felt fragmented and frustrating, nothing like the focused energy of making Kick or even the strained but productive X sessions. Something was clearly wrong with Michael, but nobody knew how to address it or fix it. The lyrics Michael wrote for Elegantly Wasted contain warnings nobody recognized at the time. Songs like Don't Lose Your Head seem straightforward enough on the surface, advice about staying grounded. Listen Now knowing what happened, and the lyrics read like Michael talking to himself, trying to hold on to sanity and stability as both slipped away.
Everything contains lines about pressure and expectations crushing someone. Girl on Fire describes watching someone self-destruct. Michael was processing his own deterioration through the songs, putting his struggles into the lyrics in ways that seemed like general rock themes then, but look like cries for help now. The album's sound reflects 1997's music landscape and INXS trying to stay relevant in a scene that had moved past them. Grunge had peaked and faded, alternative rock dominated, electronic influences crept into everything. INXS incorporated some of those elements while trying to maintain their identity. The production feels darker and rawer than Kick's polished sheen, grittier than X's atmospheric textures. Whether that reflected intentional artistic choices or Michael's deteriorating state affecting the sessions remains unclear, probably both. Elegantly Wasted, the song, the title track, became the lead single. The music pounds along with aggressive energy, Tim's guitar sharp and insistent. Michael's vocal delivers the lyrics with swagger and attitude, projecting confidence even as the words describe excess and collapse. The chorus repeats the title phrase like a mantra or a warning, elegant waste, over and over, until the contradiction starts feeling less clever and more disturbing. Released as a single before the album, Elegantly Wasted got decent radio play and charted moderately in several countries. Not a massive hit, but solid enough to suggest INXS still had commercial appeal. The album video for Elegantly Wasted shows Michael and the band performing with typical rock video energy. Michael looks thin in the footage, his face showing strain despite the performance energy. Watch it knowing what's coming 7 months later, and you see a man barely holding together, using performance as armor against falling apart completely. At the time, fans and critics just saw another INXS video, nothing particularly concerning. Only in hindsight does Michael's appearance and energy level register as warning signs. The full album dropped in April of 1997. Critical reception landed somewhere between respectful and disappointed. Critics acknowledged INXS's attempt to evolve their sound while noting the album didn't match their earlier peaks. Commercial performance followed the critical reception, selling decently but nowhere near Kick numbers. INXS had become a band with a significant fan base but diminished cultural impact, still capable of filling venues and selling records, but no longer dominating radio or MTV. That commercial reality added pressure Michael didn't need.